This is Birdo, a Nintendo character whose first appearance was made all the way back in 1987. You probably know them from games like Mario Kart or Mario Party, but what you might not know is that Birdo has a complicated and often confusing gender history within Nintendo's overall franchise. Hi, I'm Paper Will, and today we're going to explore that history and try to find out where Birdo's gender stands now. I know it sounds a little heavy, but I promise it's going to be a fun ride, so come on. Before we talk about Birdo's history, we have to talk about general Nintendo history. In 1985, Nintendo launched the original Super Mario Bros. Game on their Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. It was a huge success at the time, and they were interested in following it up with a sequel. So they did. The next year, in 1986, they released Super Mario Bros. 2, but this Super Mario Bros. 2 was only released in Japan. According to most sources, the level of difficulty was considered too high for Western audiences who were more comfortable with casual gaming experiences. Nintendo had big plans for the Mario franchise, and they didn't want to damage the series with an overly difficult, poorly selling sequel in the US or Europe. Ultimately, they decided it would be better to just pass on that game, but they still wanted a new Mario game to sell. Now, press pause on that idea for a second. Let's switch gears and talk about this game. This is obviously not a Mario game. It's a 1987 Japan exclusive title known as Yume Kozo Doki Doki Panic, or Dream Factory Heart Pounding Panic, because, man, Japanese people love long titles. While Doki Doki Panic's story probably isn't important to this video, I still want to talk about it because it's weird and nuts and very late 80s eccentric, maybe they were drunk Nintendo. The idea is, everyone in this game is part of a storybook, and for citizens living in the storybook, the quality of their dreams will affect the weather of the next day in the book, but not in the game. So the citizens of the world invent a dream machine that would always give them good dreams, but then this dude Mamu infects the dreams to give them all nightmares? Luckily, he's got a weakness to vegetables, so all the citizens beat him up with, well, beets and kill him on the last page. Super dark. Then, outside the book, but inside the game, a monkey takes the storybook and then it gives it to two twins, Pokey and Picky, who fight over it and tear out the last page, which changes the ending of the book, and Mamu jumps out and grabs the twins. So, Mama, Papa, their brother Imajin, and Imajin's casual, maybe hookup girlfriend, Lena, enter the book to save them. It's a game about a storybook about dreams. It's Inception. It's an interesting game, but it's probably not one for Western audiences. While the game was moderately popular in Japan, it was a little out there and non-traditional, and Nintendo was worried that it wouldn't sell very well in the US. Not because it's too hard like Super Mario Bros. 2, it's just kind of weird. So they never brought it over into English. Now, Nintendo had two games they couldn't release in the US, which is costing them money, and they still need a Mario sequel, so what do? Well, some 10th level genius, and I mean that sincerely, noticed that the Papa character in Dream Factory looked kind of like Mario, so they just slapped Mario sprites on the four playable characters, changed some things about the story and the visuals, and bam, they had a new Mario game, built on top of this Dream Factory game. But the game's enemies were mostly kept as is, introducing a ton of new characters to the Mario canon. Characters like Shy Guy and Tweeter and Snitfit, they all originated in this game, and so did Birdo. Although she was named Catherine in the original Japanese, she was renamed Birdo for American audiences because she looks like a bird? It's unclear. At first glance, you'd be forgiven for assuming that this enemy was a girl. They're pink, they've got a ribbon on, gender identity was a little bit less fluid in the late 80s, I think. Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell, I don't know. And in the Japanese game, Dream Factory, well, she was a girl, but for some reason, when Nintendo of America wrote the Super Mario Bros. 2 game manual, they included this. Wait, who the f*** is Ostro? Okay, so it turns out that in the manual they accidentally switched the names of Birdo and Ostro, who is a bird but not Birdo. But don't get it twisted, the character is named Birdo, and in the description it reads, quote, "He thinks he is a girl and he spits eggs from the mouth." Keep in mind, this was still a point in society where dressing up like someone from the opposite gender was often done for humorous effect, and being transgender just wasn't super duper accepted like it generally kind of is now. And while we might read this passage as, oh cool, Birdo's a transgender woman, that's awesome, It's likely the writer here just wanted to make the character funny and stand out, and they did so by saying, it's a dude, but he's actually wearing a ribbon, and he thinks he's a chick. Like, how funny is that shit? You know, this wasn't high-level humor. It's just like making a guy into a girl was apparently very funny. Either way, though, this seems pretty definitive, right? Regardless of the author's intent, in the canonical manual, Birdo was born a man and identifies as a woman, and I wish to God I could end this video at that, but there's a lot more to Birdo's journey and understanding their gender. The next time we saw Birdo was in 1993's Super Mario AllStars, a Super Nintendo game with all the original Nintendo Mario games on one amazing cartridge, including Super Mario Bros. 2 with some updates. This time, Birdo's just referred to as a she. While a generous interpretation of this is Nintendo accepting a transgender character, it's more likely they were just tweaking that original game manual as a retcon. It's a little unclear. Oh, and quick, confusing tangent, the AllStars game also included the original Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, you know, that super difficult game that hadn't been released in the US because it was too hard for Western audiences. They titled that Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, and in the Japanese release, they released the American Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, titling it Super Mario Bros. USA, and the commercial is,
スーパーマリオ USA で敵キャラを演じてるの。おっと。アメリカでは売れっ子だったのよ。今度は日本のお友達を優しく遊ばせてあげるわ。
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, but Super Mario USA also had this scene where you fight a giant Robo Birdo because Nintendo was just doing whatever in the 90s. Okay, let's organize where we're at. As of 1993, canonically, Birdo was a female gender character, and while we saw a few more appearances by them in games like Wario's Woods and Super Mario RPG, her gender wasn't further confirmed until 2000's Mario Tennis for the N64. Unfortunately, it's also kind of the point where the idea of a single Mario canon breaks apart, because in the Japanese version of Mario Tennis, Birdo is still referred to as Catherine, the original name of the character from Dream Factory. She's treated as a guest cameo, or maybe a character that's just now entering the Mario canon. But either way, both games refer to her as a female. And if you're wondering why I'm being so deliberate and specific with my language, it's not necessarily an effort to be inclusive or tolerant, although I'm hoping to also be those things. It's mostly about keeping track of where Birdo's gender status is with each game and each canon, because things are going to get complicated. And that's a nice segue into Super Mario Bros. Melee in 2001. One of my favorite games of all time. In it, you could collect trophies of famous Nintendo characters, each of which came with a little text entry about that character's history. I spent hours reading these as a kid, and I remember Birdo had a trophy. In the US release, it reads, Birdo is known for shooting eggs and fireballs from her mouth. Okay, so she's a girl, right? But in the Japanese version of the same entry, Birdo is considered a male. Uh-oh. Now, I don't even know where we're at, because in US Mario canon, Birdo is a girl. In Japanese Mario canon, Birdo, aka Catherine, which is technically the character from Dream Factory, is a guy who definitely used to be a girl. Oh my god. Now let's jump to 2003's Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. This time, Birdo's referred to as a girl both in the US and in the Japanese releases. Great, right? Great. Hey, simplification, unity, perfect. Birdo's gender is a woman. We're done, right? What? What do you mean we're not done? Oh, that's right. Later that year, in Mario Kart Double Dash, we return to the canon divide. US version, Birdo's a woman. Japanese version, Birdo is very specifically referred to as a male who is confused, quote, confused, about being female. That's followed up with this crown jewel of a quote, Catherine appears to be Yoshi's girlfriend. Or do I actually mean boyfriend? Question mark followed by exclamation mark. Luckily for all of us and our sanity, literally 10 days later, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga releases, and she's specified as a female in all versions of the game, both Japan and US. Man, 2003 was a wild ride for Birdo fans, huh? Are there any Birdo fans? Oh my god, there's a whole wiki for her? What? Okay, I'm back. I literally just took 2 hours and just read everything about Birdo on the Birdo Wikipedia, which I don't recommend because half of it was in Spanish. Whew. There wasn't much to talk about Birdo again until 2008 with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where things get harder again. We get another Birdo trophy, but this time, both the English and the Japanese entry reads, quote, "a pink creature of indeterminate gender." Good going, Nintendo. God, can you just be cool? Can you just be cool for one game, Nintendo? Okay, so as of 2008, Birdo is back to being ambiguous, or at least for a few months. Because if you thought things were tricky before, oh no. We were just getting warmed up. Nintendo is about to make a whole game mission revolve around the legality of Birdo in a transgender bathroom. No, really, I'm serious. In November 2008, the Japan-only video game Captain Rainbow comes out. If you've never heard of this game, that's normal. Even for a Japan exclusive, this is not a well-known series to Western Nintendo fans. I only learned about it a couple of years ago, and I live in Japan. The Nintendo Wii game puts you in the role of Nick, who can transform into Captain Rainbow. No, it's not an LGBT thing. I don't think it is. I played this entire game last week, and boy, I know less about it now than I did when I started, but whatever. So Nick travels to Mean Mean Island, an island specifically inhabited by obscure Mario characters who are all weirdly vulgar and angry, and they like to swear. And again, this is a Nintendo game. This is a real game. And Captain Rainbow goes around the island with the job of helping granting wishes of all the characters living there. And Birdo, aka Catherine, what does she wish for? To be released from a cage after using a ladies' bathroom. No, I swear to God, I am not making this up. She also tells you to go f yourself, which is just incredible. Look at this. Look, watch this. See? What did I say? Interestingly enough, this character was voiced by a man doing what's considered a transgender impression by Japanese audiences. So Birdo is kind of confirmed as a transgender woman who was locked up for using a female bathroom. Nintendo, are you okay? What is going on with you in this Birdo? After 2008, it seems Nintendo kind of got together and decided that they needed to unify their canon about this issue. Whenever her gender is specified in further games, Birdo is always referred to as a she, at least in English releases, and given a feminine grammar structure in Japanese releases. Birdo would continue appearing in games regularly, often as a playable character, sometimes just in cameos, but it's clear Nintendo really likes having her around, and personally, so do I. We started this video with a simple question. What gender is Birdo? And the answer is a girl. Birdo is a girl. She's a female, that is clear. But whether that means she's transgender or not, well, that's a little trickier to answer, depending on what you do and don't consider canon. Hell, you might not even care. I mean, yeah, like, whatever, man. Like, everybody just you do you. But to me, the changes and ambiguity over this character's history, well, it might resonate with the experiences of real-life transgender individuals who don't have a lot of representation in games. Birdo went through a rough struggle of a journey to discover who she was and how she identifies herself, and while others in her life, for example Nintendo, might not have always understood exactly how to label her, recently they've gotten better about it. It's funny how a character like this can reflect changes in social norms, and who knows, maybe one day we'll even have a Birdo game. I hope we do. Anyway, if you like this, subscribe, and if you don't, well, thank you for sticking through it. That was a long time to watch something you didn't like, but I appreciate it anyway. Either way you slice it, have a chill week, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.